welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name's Dave Bailey, and this is Grief and Grace. Like everyone, I've had my own deep personal experience with grief, and in my work with the largest provider of funeral services in North America, I spend time daily with grieving families. And so out of that awareness, this Facebook Live was created to be one of the spaces and one of the voices helping to process a little bit of that common human experience. If you know someone that you think could benefit from the ideas we're talking about here, why don't you go ahead and tag them in the comment section, and that way they'll get a notification and they'll be able to come and join us. Also, if you have a question during the show, just put it in the comments. We'll take some time to answer as many as we can before we sign off. So, my guest tonight is Kelley Lynn Shepherd. Yeah, Kelley is a writer and a comedienne, a TEDx presenter, a grief coach, and the author of the book, My Husband Is Not a Rainbow, which is kind of an inside joke that you won't get unless you read the book or she explains it to you. And I am totally honored to have her sharing her time with us today. Kelley Lynn, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here.
Yes, thank you. So, hey, why don't we start here? Why don't you share a little bit of your and Dawn's story, and then I want to talk to you about your book.
Okay, sounds great. So, the story starts on America Online. If anybody knows what that is, then you must be...
That's back in the day.
Right, back in the day on the computer, America Online was all the rage. And if you don't know what that is, it is how you got online back in the 90s and the 80s. I think the 80s, right?
Yep.
And
I don't know. My dad told me about it. I don't remember.
Right. So I'm kind of old. But so I was on America Online one night at my in my New York apartment, and I was, like most people, dating around and having bad luck with men in my life and things like that. And I went into this chat room that was a music chat room. And the idea of the chat room was that you would go in there and you would try and guess 1980s lyrics of 1980s songs. And I was obsessed with 1980s music at the time because that was my childhood. So I went on there one night and I just started playing that game. There was, usually about 45 people in that particular chat room. Well, this particular night, there was absolutely nobody in there except this one random person with the screen name Way Above Par. And I started talking to him, and he was in Florida and I was in New York, and 5 hours later we were still typing back and forth and joking around, and it was like we had known each other forever. And it was very casual, and we said, hey, you gonna be here tomorrow night? I am too. Let's meet up again. And we started talking as friends for a very long time, no expectations. Built this incredible friendship from New York to Florida.
Wow. After
about 3 years, we started to visit each other and fly to see one another. And then we fell in love. And it was almost 7 years of a long distance relationship before he finally moved out to New Jersey to live with me.
Wow.
And asked me to marry him. And he was a paramedic. He was a lover of animals. He absolutely loved animals and loved rescuing animals, and just one of the sweetest, kindest, nicest people I have ever met, probably the kindest person I've ever met in my life. And we were married 4 years and 9 months, not that I'm counting. And he left for work one morning on an ordinary Wednesday, and he never came home. And he was 46 years old, and he suffered a massive heart attack and collapsed on a PetSmart floor.
Wow.
Where he was volunteering with the cats and dogs to help with the adoption center. And since then, my life has changed in countless ways. And it's been 9 years last month, 9 years last month since his death.
Wow. So, your book, let's talk about that a little bit, that chronicles all of this.
Right.
So when we first talked, I'd seen your TED Talk and contacted you, said, hey, would you like to be my guest? And you're like, yes, I would love that. And then you said to me, would you be interested in reading my book before I came on your show? And I was like, of course I would. I just think that that's the proper thing to do. Let's build a relationship. And you're like, well, I just want you to know it's a little long. I'm like, don't worry, I love reading. I'm a voracious reader. Send me the book. So that was probably a month ago. So then I don't get the book 3 weeks ago, and I don't get the book 2 weeks ago. I get the book last Tuesday night. And when I open the mail, I realize Kelley Lynn is not lying. Let me just go to the main camera here for a second. I want to show you. This is the book. Yeah, you get that? This is the book. It is 621 pages long. And I looked at it, I was like, what? But I have to tell you, it is an unbelievable story of intense love and overwhelming loss and doing the hard work of reclaiming your life and your purpose. And I laughed and I cried and I pondered and I underlined copious amounts of things in the book, and it was just an absolutely amazing experience.
And you read it in a few days. I applaud you.
Yeah, well, I couldn't put it down. I mean, it was one of those books where I absolutely could not put it down. So I got it late Tuesday night, and Saturday morning I crushed through the rest of it. I was like, I am reading this book. Yeah, no, it was amazing.
It became a mission. Thank you.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. And I feel like it's a very heavy book, and I mean that in more ways than one.
Yes.
It's a very heavy book, and it's also a very heavy book.
Yeah.
So,
well, the cool part about this book, and we'll get into it a little bit, but it's different than it's not a philosophy of grief. It's
right.
walking with you through the actual grief experience. And it's like year 1 and year 2 and year 3 and year 4, and it's not like you had, half a page where you said, oh, and by the way, I grieved for 4 years and it was pretty challenging and I had some really down times. No, you walk us through 1 year at a time, sometimes 1 week at a time, 1 month at a time, and you get to walk through the grief experience, and you see the change of heart, the change of understanding, you did hard work, girl, to get where you are today. Hard work.
And that's what it takes, honestly. It takes hard work, and my grief counselor always used to call it that, with the hard work of grief, because that's what it is.
Yes.
That's what it is.
So I want to ask you about some quotes from the book, and then I'd love to have you read a couple of passages for us. And for those of you that are online, just so you know, we're going to give away a signed copy of the book tonight for some random comment. If you want to jump on, leave a comment or leave a question. We get to the end of the show, Kelley's just going to scroll through those, pick someone at random, and we're going to send you a signed copy of her book. And you will be thankful to get this. So when you did your TED Talk, you focused on the idea of moving on, and how that was an idea that was so misunderstood in so many ways. Can you walk us through that a little bit?
Sure. So the name of my TED Talk is When Someone You Love Dies, There Is No Such Thing as Moving On. And what I mean by that is that you love anyone who dies that you love. You continue to love that person. Just because their life ended, your relationship with that person does not end. It just shifts and it changes into something else. And so the idea that you need to move on, or that you need to let go of that person or put that in the past, it has always been a really terrible message to me. I think it's a terrible message that we as a society are sending people that are grieving. I think it's awful, and I think it's unhealthy, and I think that when you send someone that message, you're telling them that they should be ashamed of their love for someone that died, that they care about. And I think it's an awful message.
Yeah.
And so that's the general idea of the TED Talk.
Yes. You talk about, in your talk, you said, any widowed person will tell you that we have heard time and time again the endless parade of well-intentioned, thoughtless comments that come our way within minutes of losing our life partners and the life we knew. These comments include such classics as, everything happens for a reason. Time heals all wounds. God never gives you more than you can handle. It was God's plan. God needed another angel. I know exactly how you feel. You need to get over this. And of course, then you say that. But the king of all insensitive comments is, you need to move on. And I just think we are so grief illiterate that people do not know what to say. But you also had a lot of friends that rallied around you and offered their help in really practical ways and said words that comforted you. And when you think about those experiences, what do you think are some simple things that people can say or do that are helpful and constructive in the middle of overwhelming grief?
So there's a few things I think can be very helpful, and I thank you for asking that, because it's really important to not just tell people don't do this, don't say this, but to also offer them something that they can do and that they can say that is helpful.
Yes.
And so a lot of times I think just listening, and I know it sounds simple, but it's very hard to do, but if you can just listen to the person who's grieving, listen to them, listen to what they have to say, and you don't even have to say anything a lot of times. You just sit and listen to them, validate their pain, let them sit in their pain, and don't try and talk them out of it. Don't try and, judge them or tell them not to cry and things like that, but just listen and sit with them. Another thing that is very helpful, I think, is when someone tells me, I missed him too. I miss him, because it's like, I'm not the only one that misses this person that walked the earth and now doesn't.
Yes.
And it's a beautiful thing to know that somebody else misses that person as well. And if you didn't know the person that died, you could say, I wish I knew them, because, you tell such great stories about them, or ask us questions about them, ask us to tell you about them.
Yes.
We want to talk about them, even if it makes us cry, or even if it hurts a little bit. We really want to talk about them.
Yes.
And so when people shut us down from doing that, it's very hurtful. And it's wonderful when you can be that person that we know, I can talk about this person that died with this guy.
Yeah.
This guy's going to sit here and listen, and he's not going to shut me down.
Yes.
Another thing is to be patient. Just be patient with us, because it is like you're 1 year old and then 2 years old and then back to 1 year old when you're grieving, and every day is different, every minute is different, and you're just trying to pick up the pieces of your life again, and it's extremely difficult. So be patient. And the biggest thing, I think, that's something like concrete that you can actually do, that's an action, is to offer something very specific and then follow through on it.
Yes.
So, for example, would you mind if I took you out for dinner next Wednesday? Put it in your calendar. I'll come pick you up, go get dinner. And maybe I could do that, a couple times a month for the next few months, or, whenever you're free. Or I'm going to make some frozen meals for you, put them in your freezer so you have some easy things to make. I'm going to go grocery shopping for you. Notice all my things involve food, by the way.
That's all right. I'm good with that.
Right. But, if the person has children, maybe offer to watch the kids for a couple hours so that person can get out for a couple of hours and just have some peace time. Things like that are concrete are extremely helpful, because all of a sudden the person that did half of those things is gone.
Yes.
When it's a partner.
Yes.
Or a spouse that died. And all of a sudden you're just here with all this responsibility that you're not used to.
Yes.
So it's extremely overwhelming.
Yes. When people read the book, they'll understand how overwhelming it was for you to have Dawn get up in the early hours of the morning, leave to go volunteer. You're sound asleep, and you get awoken by a phone call telling you that he's gone. He doesn't wake you up when he leaves because he wants you to sleep. You never get to say goodbye. You never get that last kiss. You never get any of those things.
Right.
And the trauma of that was part of what you had to work through, and the challenge of that. And so as part of that, you thought I should find some widow support groups. And so you set out to do that, and you had some, shall we say, interesting experiences. You had one experience that I had to put the book down because I was laughing. Anyway, but you finally did find Camp Widow, which had an incredible impact for you. So can you read the story of the founder, Michelle, delivering a keynote address, and what that talk meant to you, and what Camp Widow has come to mean to you, and your involvement in that, and just, could you take some time and read that for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So do you want me to tell you a little bit about
Sure.
what Camp Widow is first?
Yeah.
Or, so Camp Widow is a program run by a nonprofit called Soaring Spirits International, and their website is soaringspirits.org. And what they do is, it's a nonprofit that was founded by a widow who lost her husband very suddenly in her 30s. And she started this community of people, widowed men and women, totally all inclusive. So whether you're married, not married, whether you're gay, straight, whether you're, young, older, whatever your situation is, if you lost the person that you thought you were going to spend the rest of your life with, Soaring Spirits considers you a widowed person. And that's what makes it such a great organization, is that everybody's included. So they offer in-person and virtual support, friendship, community, hope, and a huge focus on honoring your life with that person, and also building a future and recreating a life for yourself at the same time. And meeting the people I've met through Soaring Spirits and Camp Widow has been absolutely amazing. They have several in-person Camp Widows. They're a 2 to 3 day event held at mostly Marriott hotels in different parts of the country.
It's not camping. It's not camping.
It's not camping. It sounds like it is, but it's not camping. It's very highfalutin camping.
There you go.
So yeah, it's very expensive camping and expensive hotel rooms. But it's such a wonderful thing. So that's a little bit about, and when you go there, you have a mixture of workshops about grief, different topics, all weekend long, social activities with each other. So you walk away with a bunch of new friends and a bunch of new tools of, how do I live this life? What do I do from here? Wow. So this is a little something that I wrote after my very first Camp Widow about, as you mentioned, the keynote address given by Michelle Hernandez, the founder. So at Camp Widow, Michelle delivers a keynote address to all the campers who traveled from all over the country and the world to be at this exciting event. In her speech this past weekend, she quoted from the beautiful poem, A Summer Day, by Mary Oliver, in asking us all this incredible question. Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? It's a loaded question, especially when you're grieving the loss of your life partner and just trying to regain your footing. But when this woman stands up on a stage and tells a crowd of widowed people that hope matters, or that we can still have an amazing life, even if it's not the one we wanted or planned, I believe her. I believe her because she did it herself. I believe her because she is standing there in front of me, and she is made up of all of her pain and strength and fear and love and grief, and she continues on. I believe her because her life will always be complicated and wonderful and joyful and tinged with sadness and loss, because she married again to a man who not only doesn't feel threatened that she will always love her late husband, but who fully supports her calling to help other widowed people throughout the world. I believe her simply because she is alive.
Wow. So right after that, right after you tell that story, you say, there is such a thing as recreating your life while carrying your partner with you deep inside your soul. There is such a thing as finding hope where you thought there was none, and light where you only saw darkness, and tomorrow where you couldn't see past today. That's profound, but that insight was hard fought for and challenging to arrive at, wasn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely. It took years for me to get to that point, and a lot of hard work, as you mentioned before, a lot of grief counseling, a lot of writing, a lot of sitting with the emotions of grief and the thoughts and the pain and trying to process it and making sense of it all and picking up the pieces and deciding, what do I do now? What do I want now? Who am I now? All of those questions that require a lot of work and a lot of heartfelt just pain. It's not easy to go through.
Yes.
But because it's so hard fought for, I feel like every bit of joy I have today in my life now it's like joy that I fought for and
Yes.
I earned, you know?
Yes.
And so it makes the joy so much more joyful than any joy I've experienced before, if that makes sense.
Yes. So you tell the story in the book of being on the phone with Caitlin, your therapist,
Yeah.
and who you are definitely going to hook me up with, and she will definitely come on and be a guest here. No, she sounds amazing.
She is. Everybody loves her after reading the book. And she's so embarrassed by that.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So you're talking to her, and you suddenly feel Dawn speaking clearly to you. And he says what?
He says, step into your life.
Oh my God. Step into your life.
And he says it 3 times in a row. Step into your life. Step into your life. And I know it sounds crazy and I know it sounds nutty that he would say that or that he was speaking to me at all. The whole thing sounds crazy, but it happened.
Yes. So you get off the phone as quick as you can and you start furiously writing what he's saying to you. Yeah. Can you read that for us?
Absolutely. Yep. So
it's a piece of prose.
This is sort of like his words to me.
Yes.
And I felt like while I was writing it that he was writing it
Yes.
with me and for me. It's called Go, Step Into Your Life. Written by Dawn Shepherd and Kelley Lynn. Step into your life, the one that waits for you, the one that knows of the promises you made long ago, to dream, to risk, to dare. Step into the moment to become that thing, the thing that you were meant to become, the thing that you always were, somewhere deep within, but lost along the way. Be that thing now, right now. Go. Walk beside your vision. Crawl there if you must. Breathe through the fire that burns you, the sword that stabs you, the fears that stop you, time and time again. Each time you fall, or each time that needle travels through your heart and into your open wounds, stare it down. Push it into the cold bricks. Look it into the eyes and tell it, you are nothing, for I have been through worse. Go. Run into that spotlight. Stand upon your mark. Claim the very universe that is yours in which to play. Seize the absolute second to which the world receives your talents that I have always seen. Go. Are you afraid? I know you are afraid. Please, my sweet angel, don't be afraid, for you have loved me better, and with more wholeness, to last 10,000 billion moons. And even though I can no longer sit beside you, I am still beside you. And every time you take your life and you create it and you build it and you fill it up with wonder, you embody the very thing that is love. You loved me better than I have ever been loved or felt love before. You filled my life with everything in the short time that I was here. And now that I am living on a star or in a sunrise, I want you to know that when you go off to collect your dreams, when you leap forward to grab that bliss, when you dance wildly across that finish line, do not be afraid. Because in that moment, when you have reached the brightest star and called it your new home, you will not have traveled away from me. You will not be leaving me behind. No. When you reach that star and you sit along its corner, there will be a breath of air and a hint of music, a melody hidden just for you within the silence. That is me, us, love, our love, living and laughing and singing deep within the night sky. And you will always feel that love and be aware of that love every single time you decide to live. So go, sweet angel, go and step into your life, and I will meet you inside our special place. I will meet you inside the rhythms of the music. Hurry up, my love. It's your time now. Step into your life. I love you. Now go.
I'm not crying. You're crying.
Yeah, you're crying.
I'm not crying. You're crying. Oh, God.
We're both crying. Yeah.
Okay, you tell another story of having a conversation with your therapist as sort of that phase of your life was coming to an end and changing, and then you get a call from her a few days later finding out that she'd been hit by a taxi while she was walking home, and it brought up this profound realization of how important it is to live into and express the love that we have for each other. So I'm going to ask you to read one more thing. Can you read us a little bit of that story?
Sure, absolutely. Okay. I might die. They might die. This is how I see it. And it's not in a morbid or depressing way. It's just the truth. Humans die. We never know when, we don't know why, but they die. So you better make damn sure that if there's someone out there who you really care about intensely, or who does something for you in your life, or just makes you feel good, or makes you feel like something in this world makes sense, make damn sure that they know that you feel that way. Because if they die, they will have died with knowing that someone loves them deeply and that they are deeply loved. And if you should be the one who dies, well, you died loving that person. I never got to say these things to my husband. I never got to say one damn thing. I have to hope beyond hope that he somehow knew. But still, every single day I regret that I didn't get to sit him down, look him straight in the eye, and make him look at me as I told him, "You changed my life. Your love was everything, and it will be everything forever. I will live for you. I will live for you, because your life will end sooner than mine, and you won't have that option. I love you, my beautiful, sweet husband. I love you. Say the words you long to say. When it feels like goodbye, assume that it might be. Say it all. Say everything. Live out loud, always. I wish like hell that I did the first time."
Wow. Say it all. Say everything.
Say
Live
it all.
out loud.
Yep.
God almighty. Yeah.
Yep. And so many people don't.
So many people don't. Because we
They just
always
don't.
think that, there's another day, another chance, another opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, and they waste so much time worrying about stupid little things on the day to day that aren't important, instead of telling the people they love that they're loved.
Yes. That is true.
Yeah.
We worry about the little things.
Yep.
Yeah. I almost had you read the passage of where you talk about how much you miss his farts, but I thought maybe we'd leave that. Oh,
Yeah.
what a wonder. All right. Let me ask you this last question. Is there anything that you would like to share in closing?
I would love to just thank you, first of all, for having me here. I think this is such an important discussion, and I'm really, really happy that we as a society are having more discussions like this. I think the more we talk about death and the more we talk about grief and stop pushing it under the covers and pretending it's not a thing,
Yes.
I think the more that we can educate other people about how to treat people who are grieving, because everybody grieves and everybody loses people and everybody dies. But they die on one day and the rest of the time they live.
Yes.
So it's my belief is that nobody ever really dies if we share their story. If we continue to share their story, that's my main message, and that's what I believe. So people you love that have died, share their story, share it forward, and live it forward in love. Pass that love forward in as many ways as you can, so that that person isn't really gone.
So true. So true. Thank you, Kelley Lynn. Thank you. It's been an honor to have you. Are you looking?
Pick
Yeah.
a name?
Yeah, please.
Okay, I'm just gonna pick it's totally random, people.
All right.
So I'm not okay. The first one I see, Michelle Parker.
Good
That's
stuff.
the first name I saw.
All
Michelle
right.
Parker. Send one of us a private message, and we'll tell you how to get your free signed copy of my book.
That's perfect. I think that's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. What a spectacular night. Again, the book is My Husband Is Not a Rainbow, and you can get that on Amazon or other booksellers, or you can get it on Kelley Lynn's website. The website is filled with information. It's blogs, it's video. You can find the book there as well, and you can order it via PayPal. So take advantage of all that. If you want to talk to Kelley Lynn about hiring her as a grief coach or a writing coach, you can find all that information on her website as well, KelleyLynnLife.com. You see that up there on the top of the screen. And don't forget to click on notifications so that you can get a reminder of whenever it is that we're going live. And if you've gotten value out of this tonight, please feel free to share it on all of your social media platforms. And you can also find these conversations archived on YouTube on the Grief and Grace page there. Please join us next Monday. My guest is going to be Jana DiCristofaro from the Doogie Center, which is a national center for grieving children and families. And it's going to be a fascinating conversation. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here. Stay safe.